Alright, hello everyone. Today I got a short video. Well, I know I've said that multiple times and they always end up being pretty long, but I promise this one is not going to take too long. Because I haven't programmed anything yet. I was, digging around, testing out the whole, physics storage entity stuff because I wanted to figure out what they are and how they work. And it's very simple. I had actually already made a comment about it on my code previously, and it literally was trivial to implement this. As you can see, they are pretty much just, well, it's kind of floating in the air because it's not properly placed. But it's basically, physics objects that you can place on the scene and you can break them, right? These things right here are just breakable objects. And if we, since it's one of those explosive barrels, we can just shoot at it and it blows up. Pretty cool. So yeah, we can also place this now. All that's left to implement is putting in, the code to actually be able to put this in Blender because I haven't implemented that on Blender yet, right? But yeah, these are pretty easy to work with, and I'm going to show what I did. And just give me a sec. So basically, I just went to my file where we've got the level and I manually edited the number of physical entities and put in a transform matrix and just put in the name of the object we want to spawn manually, right? And well, you might say, how did you figure out what this name is? Well, very simple. Actually, if we go to my old code right here, I had this comment right here, which was this thing right here, because when I was reverse engineering the code, this was a real long time ago, like multiple weeks ago, and I had forgotten about this, right? I had just remembered that instead of starting a template class, we appear to be reading a path to some storage asset, right? Some asset's name, and the path is appended to data physics entities. So basically, it's kind of like textures. Basically, you just go to the correct path and you will find, and also, like textures, effects, particles, everything is found like that. You just reference the asset through a string and you will find a bunch of files that correspond to the objects that you want to place, right? So I could try to open up and display the debugger at some point in the future, because internally, if I recall correctly, it used some kind of class to actually instantiate the code for the template, but this is just a reader and writer for packing and unpacking data, so we don't care about the code related to the actual physics entity logic, right? That's part of what the game does. What we only care about is the properties that it reads from the XMB file, and the properties that it reads when creating a physics entity template class is actually a string and a matrix transform, right? So those are the two things that we read. And if we go over to here, I've got a bunch of folders open and I don't remember where I've got it. It's here, physics entities, right? So basically, within the content of the game, we got, Magicka content data physics entities, and inside of this path right here, which is, if we look at the decompiled code, basically the string that it extracts from the template class, it's actually just appended in the decompiled code to the data slash physics entity path, and this right here contains every single object of a type that can be a physics entity. And we even got radio towers, we got a lot of things, we got tons of things that we could test out to check out what is it that they really are, right? But yeah, and we got the one that I put right here was the barrel explosive. This one right here, we got another version for Havendir, which I assume is the one that they put in the door maybe or something, or maybe it's a different variant that I didn't realize. And the barrel petrol, I assume, is the one from the Vietnam DLC. So barrel group petrol is that group where the one where there's like multiple tiny barrels stacked on top of each other, right? So yeah, well, the ammo crates from the DLC from Vietnam again, right? So we got tons of cool things that we can spawn in here, right? And it's as simple as just picking the file name without the XMB extension. which, you know, usually when you reference files, you put in the extension, but you know how when it's a system file, you don't need to put it because the system automatically determines how it is. When it's a DLL, you can just work without it. But in the case of the XNA framework, basically when you reference files, unless you make it through your own system, the XNA framework is going to assume that it's going to be an XMB file, so it will automatically append .xmb when searching through the system, right? So you only have to pick the name itself, kind of like how the particles work. So yeah, there's really not much else to be said about this. Only that we can just pretty much put any number of objects that work like this. And you know, a cool thing about them, by the way, is that yes, they do damage you and burn you. Like it's fully featured, it works, and that's pretty cool because that means that we can use them just like they are used in the base game without having to code anything else or any extra logic, right? So that's great news because that means like literally half of the job is already done. So now I will proceed and write some code to make this work in Blender, and after that I will go ahead and just, you know, make a video about that, and we'll talk about some implications about that system because we have to think about how it would make sense to actually represent these objects visually on the sim, because you know, we can't exactly just place those things in there and use, you know, empties because they are not just locators, right? We could use a box one for the, you know, triggers and do some hacky thing where we can just go ahead and move the origin to the, you know, bottom of the box or whatever. I don't know, we'll have to figure it out, because it's going to be kind of hard to locate this on the sim, but it's kind of like the same amount of difficulty as locating books on or any other item spawn on the sim without making them float. But yeah, it's all a work in progress. We'll see what the best way to do things are over time. But yeah,